Hello, this is Sharon Mistretta, and welcome to the fourth in a series of flipped lessons regarding the construction of a 3-question quiz in Scratch. So what we had done last time was we had established our routine that clears all of our variables in the very beginning so that we can set ourselves up for a clean run when the green flag is clicked. So what I wanted to point out to you, and what you might have noticed, is that I have 4 variables, but I only initialized or set 3 of them back to a different beginning value. I did not set correct answer, and there's a reason for that, because I will go and create certain routines right now where I will set the correct answer based on what the current question number is. So we're going to take a look at that now. So what I need to do is I need to create certain routines that are going to do work for me that I can call when I need them. So what they are called is events. And what I wanted to first show you is that when I do a edit and a small stage layout, it gives me more room to code. And I can still run this, but it's smaller. If I wanted to run it in a large stage layout, I just push that to unclick small stage. But right now I'm going to do small stage because I want to be able to have more room to code. And as you can see, this is a block of code and it is movable as a unit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an event. I'm just looking for there we go. So events. So now the way that a program can invoke certain sections in Scratch is something that's called broadcast and receive. So it's just as if one part of the program sends a message and the other part receives it. And the other parts will listen for when it's called, but it'll just remain dormant if it's not called. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 events so that I can fill the questions. So here I'm going to call it when I receive message 1. I'm going to put it right down here, but it's not going to be message 1. I'm going to create a new message so that it's indicative of what it does. And I am going to call it question 1. So when I receive question 1, and I'm going to broadcast that subsequently, but I'm just creating the event that's going to be called so that I have it all set. So that's question 1. Now, I want to draw your attention to the Control tab. And I am going to talk to you about if statements. If statements are the lifeblood of programming. And understanding them and knowing what they do really makes concise code so that you can do things in a small number of steps and test for a condition. So let us drag over a simple if-then. So at the get-go, I want to make sure that you know that this little block that's empty right now, that is going to be what occurs if the condition that I'm testing for is true. And that's in any programming language. The very first leg or row or corridor of an if statement always happens only if the condition that you tested for is true. So now in order to set up that particular condition, I'm going to go over to my operators. This is all the math operations that you can do. And what I'm going to do is I am going to just drag over this little hexagon that has an equal sign in it. And I'm going to nudge it right into that little slot. And do you see how it's shining? And I know that I can put it in there. So it's not doing anything yet, but it will. So now I'm going to go back over to my data. And I am going to test for the length of my question 1 list. So I'm going to drop this down. This is question 1's list. So if the length of question 1 is 0, and what that's essentially saying is if that list is empty, fill it, is what that's saying. So I want to go back over to show you. I'm going to take myself off of this, the small stage, and I'm going to just show you the Q1. And do you see that it's empty and the length is 0? It's not filled yet. So I'm going to fill it. I'm going to bring a small stage layout now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this area that is my data tab, and I am going to insert data into this file. And you can think of it just like an Excel spreadsheet. This is going to be a one-dimensional array or a one-dimensional file, which means that it has rows, multiple rows, and one column. If I had a multiple dimension data array, then I would have more columns, and I would index through that or go through that in a different way. This is a simple file with 4 rows is all that it's saying, and I know right now that it's empty. And in order to get stuff into there, I am going to do an insert. I'm going to insert, and it says thing, but you know I have to change that. So now I'm going to go back over. Another beauty of the having a worksheet. So here's my first question. I'm going to highlight the first question, and I'm going to do a Command C, which on a Mac is copy, a Control C for your Windows-based devices. I'm going to tap into this, and I'm going to do a Command V. So there's my first question. And I am going to, now just be careful of these drop-down menus. Look for where you're working on. I'm working on question 1, so I have Q1 in each of these drop-down menus. Q1. So it's saying this numbering system has a base of 8 and uses digits 0 through 7. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this list my 3 choices, my multiple choices. I'm just going to do my inserts, okay? And then I'm going to tap into here, and I'm going to do it in row 2, row 3, and row 4. It has to be Q1. Drop it down. Now I'm going to go over to my worksheet. And I am using the same 3 options for each of my questions. All that I ask you to do is to vary the correct answer for each of them. Don't have the correct answer all as one. Vary it just as you would a regular quiz that you would do on paper. But now what I'm going to do is I am going to do Command C for binary. That's option 1. Option 2 is hexadecimal. Command C. And 3. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why didn't Sharon use the say or think in the looks tab? And that is because the say and the looks do not do a new line. They concatenate. So everything would be on one line and it would wrap. So for the sake of students, I want it on separate lines. And also for the sake of teaching you how to use a list, I wanted to do that. Okay, so if and only if the length of Q1 is 0, which means it's empty, then it's going to insert these things. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to show list 1, Q1, but I'm going to hide list 2, Q2, and hide. I'm going to just do a hide here, Q3. Okay, so now you're saying, well, why do I have to do that? If I filled it, that's what the data is. Well, there's 3 different lists, and I only want question 1 to display when I'm on question 1. So you don't know what your user is going to tap on next, and they might stop the program and click the green flag again. So you want to make sure that in the very beginning, you're showing Q1, but hiding Q2 and Q3. Okay, so that I am doing, that's receive question 1. Now you would assume that I'd have to do question 2 and question 3. Well, the Scratch has a very nice ability that all you have to do is a right click on this whole block, and I'm going to say duplicate. Ta-da! It duplicated it for me. I'm going to stick question 1 up here, but what do I have to do? I have to then, instead of question 1, I'm going to do a new message, and it's going to be question 2. So when it listens for question 2, now all that I have to do here is I have to change the numbering system, the question, to my second question. Here it is. Here's my second question. I'm going to do a Command C. I'm going to tap into here. And I've put in here the numbering system has a base 2 and uses digits 0 and 1, so that's binary. But here I'm leaving the same multiple choice questions. However, I have to say the length of Q2 because I'm using a different list there. Q2 here, Q2 here, Q2, and Q2. I am going to show list Q2 and hide 1 and hide 3. Okay, let's save it. All right, so now what I would like you to do is duplicate this and switch it to your question 3. Thank you.